Hello and welcome to another episode of I Mas, where I is spelled like AI, and we are here talking about AI. I'm taking the jargon out of the conversation and telling the stories of how people are using AI in their lives to make their lives easier, or simply using AI in a way that positively impacts their lives. I'm your host, Andrea Ocarina Perez. I want to thank everyone that's liked, subscribed, and shared this podcast with everyone they know and anyone that might be interested in it. It really helps, and I really appreciate the support. I also want to thank everybody that leaves comments, because I do read them all, and also to the people that know me personally and have sent me messages. I really, really love that, and I thank you for them. I'm actually going to read a message that a friend sent me. I'm going to keep their name anonymous, but I want to read this message that I got because it really warmed my heart. I broke a barrier of mine today. I tried out ChatGPT in an effort to get more insider user experience and knowledge so I can support your work more. I'm not gonna lie, it scared me, but I'm getting the initial hang of it. Thanks for pushing me outside my comfort zone. I love that. I remember getting that message and it made my heart so happy, and that's what we're here doing, is just getting people out of their comfort zones and trying new things, because again, it's just a tool that if we don't start using, we're gonna start falling behind, and then next thing we know, all these people are using it and you don't know what's going on. So we don't want that. Let's start practicing and let's start playing around with these tools and see what we learn. I also really want to thank everyone that has supported me in Buy Me a Coffee and that has joined the membership there or has just sent me a one-time coffee. It helps so much. It helps me pay for tools so that I can keep this podcast going, and I really appreciate it. Thank you. I also want to thank y'all for your patience. This episode's coming out a few days later than it normally does. I just needed a little bit of a break, but I'm here and I have more episodes recorded and we are good. We're going to keep going. All right, let's dive in to talk about today's guest. So today's guest is really cool. She's an entrepreneur and has been for a long time now. She has her own production company, and I found her in LinkedIn through her work that she's been posting using AI as either a tool to grow her audience or just to learn what works and what doesn't, to even how she and her team edits the media that they create. I'm really excited for this conversation and for all of you to hear it. Please welcome today's guest, founder of Chosen Media, Liberty White. Hello there. Welcome to I Mas. Can I have you say your full name and pronouns, please?
Yes, I'm Liberty White, and my pronouns are she, her.
Perfect. Hi, Liberty. Thanks for being
Hello.
on here. I'm really excited. So please tell us a bit about yourself first. I know that you're a producer now. You have your own company, Chosen Media, but I want to hear a bit more about what you were doing prior to being a producer and prior to having your own company, and then how it led to where you are today.
Yeah, great question. First of all, I'm so happy and excited to be here. There's so much happening in this space. And how did I get here? That's a great question. So, I've always been in media in some shape or form. So,
Mhm.
in college, university, I was at the local radio station. So, I'm a native of Toronto.
Okay.
So there weren't a lot of major urban stations. I think it was until like the 90s that we actually got an urban station.
Mhm.
So you'd get that kind of music at the community station. So I had friends who were DJs and I would answer the phones. I would read flyers. So if you really want to, that's the
Yeah.
foundation of it. And just moving on into life, I've always been curious about
Mhm.
technology, curious about people, and I'm a problem solver. So looking at it from that vantage point, just marketing and producing, if I see something or an idea comes up, much like you in this
Mhm.
podcast, you had this idea and then you
Yeah.
start pulling the pieces together. That
Yeah.
was me. So it was like our first show was only in the A and it was on the MARTA buses in Atlanta. And it
Okay.
was because I was on my way. I worked at a media company. I was a web director there at Rolling Out, and I just got tired of seeing celebrities on, not to say celebrities, any celebrities listening, I just got tired of seeing them on the cover and us chasing them when there are these everyday people who are doing really cool things.
Mm,
So
mhm, mhm, mhm.
just being on the bus, and I noticed the network on there. There were people, they told us about people in LA and in Miami and in New York, but I'm like, we're right here in Atlanta. And
Yeah,
there's like they're not showcasing people in Atlanta. So I approached them and I said, "Hey, I'd like to do a show called Only in the A." And that was like it took off from there of just the producing side
cool.
of things. So yes, that's my origin story in a nutshell.
Uh-huh. And then from there, you started Chosen Media?
Yes, the US side of Chosen Media started from doing the content. That company actually that were we had our show on their network went bankrupt, and I made
Mm.
an attempt to like try to buy the assets, but I didn't have enough capital. And my husband at the time, he had said, "You need to get a job."
Yeah.
So because I was trying to it takes a lot to try to acquire a business, and so I
Mhm.
went off to work at the States, and they were looking for an interactive person, someone who understood digital and online, which I did or do.
Mhm.
And,
Mhm.
just from there, that was working on tourism projects, working with the global team, the international team, so that really helped me to understand how companies and organizations, what they care about. They care about talent, they care about metrics, they care about so that's really helped to shape what I'm doing now, where I am now, because I'm not just being creative or doing creative work. There's also very much a business side and
Right.
understanding that these two worlds need to come together if you're going to have longevity.
Mhm. Right. Okay, so tell us a bit more about Chosen Media and what Chosen Media does.
Chosen Media is a video marketing company. And essentially, what that means is companies, organizations that are looking for support in their content creation. So they have
Mhm.
a conference coming up. So our team will come out and either help with social or help them to do strategy and figure out what kind of touch points they need in order to really engage with their audience. So we've
Okay.
worked with the Atlanta Dream and we've worked with various nonprofits, and of late, we have really been digging our heels into this AI space and how
Mhm.
people can use AI to help create content and help to grow their businesses as well. So, in a nutshell, that is Chosen Media, and I'm excited, but I'm also happy that it's my company, so we get a chance to be really innovative. Where sometimes when you're
Mhm.
in a larger organization, like some of the things I
Mhm.
learned at the state, and one of the reasons I even left was it takes so long. Like the agencies that we worked with, they got to do all the
Mhm.
cool things. They got to test out VR. They got to brainstorm ideas and present them to us while I was at the state. But now I'm on
Mhm.
the other side. So I'm like, oh, you know what? We have this great idea that this will work, and pitching it to clients and helping them figure out how they can stay on the cutting edge, but then also
Right.
how that can help with their business.
Mhm. Mhm. And of course, what caught my attention was that you're using AI to you've incorporated it into your business and to see how people can grow their companies. And so I also want to hear about the experiment that you did with ChatGPT to get, I think it was 100,000 followers on Instagram
Yeah,
just by using, but with no ads and no extra help, just using the chat to help
right.
you. I think I saw that was like 2 months ago. How is that going?
Yes, so that was so I originally saw, and there are a number of people online in some shape or form who have done types of experience, whether it be
Mhm.
revenue or from a financial, any people in the financial services industry. But I saw a gentleman by the name of Dominic, his handle's Mr. Grateful, that he came across my feed, and this was kind of his version of it. So, like you said, no ads, no boosted posts, no illegal activity. Like, can ChatGPT be my social media manager and help me to get to 100K followers? So we were like, oh my goodness, we got to do this,
Yeah, yeah.
for a couple of reasons. One, as an agency, and just really doing something fun and cool, and just
Right.
get us our
Test it.
brains and right testing that. But then also from the perspective of, okay, this is in 30 days, which means you're interacting with ChatGPT every single day, multiple times a day. So what I like to I used to play basketball, so in order
Mhm.
to really be a good player, you've gotta practice. You've gotta be on the court, you've
Yeah,
gotta eat right, all the things that help you to be a great athlete. Well, by doing this challenge, we're gonna be doing all the things that will help us to really understand how ChatGPT works. And it's
right.
not a once a week workshop or maybe playing with it or working with it for a few minutes a day. It's like we're in the weeds, we're
Yeah.
researching,
It's like
we're
a
testing.
colleague.
Exactly, exactly that. And
Since I recorded this episode with Liberty, I have seen people discussing the issue with calling AI a colleague or a partner. These are words that we use normally for humans. So using it for AI is something that we should avoid simply because it really is not a human and it doesn't have the caring and empathy that a human would carry when doing the work. So we really should just focus on it being a tool. And yes, it's a super powered tool that can do a lot of good and a lot of work. But again, it's not human, it's not our colleague, and it's not our partner.
and ChatGPT giving us answers, and I'll share a funny story of just some of the feedback we got. But yeah, so it essentially it was yeah, about a month and a half ago of starting to do that. And what I quickly realized too was so our videos were roughly we did a put out a video every day and it was roughly like 90 seconds. And
Mm-hmm.
what's important in this space is making sure that you're looking at your analytics. Not we're not just putting content out. And so we quickly realized, and I think it was around the time the algorithm started doing some different things where shorter content was where it's at. These 3 and 7 second videos. So our like 90-second super polished videos,
Yeah.
they weren't doing so great,
Oh man.
on Instagram. But that's okay because they did really well on LinkedIn. We've
Okay,
actually
okay, okay.
received like so yeah, so the growth, even though LinkedIn wasn't everyday posting, it was just kind of side commentary, LinkedIn had higher growth than Instagram, more opportunities.
Interesting.
Exactly. Like you said, I
Yeah.
love the fact that you said it was an experiment. So
Yeah.
the whole idea of doing an experiment is to learn, take those learnings, and then now either repeat
Mm-hmm.
or make them really work for you. So yeah, we learned a lot from just Chat GPT being able to give us feedback. Many times it would be, hey Chat GPT, okay, so here's the metrics. So let me take a step back. The way we set it up was about 3 months, 90 days, all of the Instagram posts, 90 days before. Put all of that. And now this is when ChatGPT didn't have the word is slipping me right now, but the plugins. They didn't have plugins or anything
Yeah.
like that. So we were manually putting all of this
Wow.
the data in of our reach and how many likes and how many comments. So think about that 90 days of
Yeah.
content, putting that in there. But from that information, ChatGPT said, great. So your audience is they like inspiration, they like technology. How about this idea? And
Oh,
it
that's
was a
so cool.
yeah, like you said, a partner. So it was really us going back and forth because I'm like, that does not sound like my voice. That is super cheesy. Try again. And then
Yeah,
ChatGPT,
that's happened to me. My super formal, and I'm like that.
yeah,
It's just like make it lighter, make it
right,
warmer. Like give
right.
me some life.
And that's great that you know that that's how you're using it because sometimes I say to people some of the biggest mistakes that people are making with ChatGPT is you just give it whatever the information, the data, and that's it. It's like you take that and run with it. When no,
Hmm.
it's learning your
Yeah.
habits, your idiosyncrasies. So the more that you give it feedback, you tell it, the no, that wasn't it. That's my favorite line is like, that's not it, try again.
Yeah. I'm
The
gonna
more
gonna
you
start
do
using that one.
yeah. And I mean, essentially, you are doing that essentially because
Yeah.
it's now giving you, okay, let me try again. And the more that you're doing that in a thread, the more that it's learning, okay, this and giving better recommendations. So
Hmm.
I think about halfway through, it was the holiday time. And I was like, you know what? I'm also going to balance my mental health in this as
Hmm.
well. So, hey, ChatGPT, I'm going to be away. We need to pre-produce a bunch of things, a bunch of pieces of content. And ChatGPT said, well, you know what? You started to do carousels. Carousels work really well. So we like, it was no longer videos because remember,
Okay.
the campaign is really, or the experiment is really about whatever ChatGPT says. So we stopped
Right.
doing as many videos and it started to be shorter 7, 10 second videos, some posts, doing a few more stories, and
Mhm.
that just really like, oh my goodness, I didn't see that chat GPT thing. And we our name was Creator GPT. So just
Mhm.
getting that kind of feedback was really, really helpful. And those videos we did and the content we did in that time, actually we had a 10-15% increase in people saving them than before because they were much more tech tutorials than they
Okay.
were just overall AI
Yeah.
information.
Yeah. And then they can go back and reference them for later.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
do. I do that a lot. So I
I
know
do too.
I know what's happening. So then, did you reach your goal?
I did not. We
Okay.
so the goal was 100,000 in 30
Uh-huh.
days.
Uh-huh.
It was 100 people. 100 new followers in 30
No,
days. Yes. And
really?
really, 100. It was 100 new, and
Okay.
I and I had a colleague who I saw her maybe a week after or a few days after, and she's like, "Are you okay?" Because I wasn't sure if you were trying to be positive or not. I said, "No, like really, really good," because we so after that we started because of the things that we learned. We are now creating some faceless YouTube videos. So we have a workflow for how to
Mm,
do more YouTube automation, how to grow channels. So our ability to now help clients to do that on a faster scale, to be more
mm,
consistent, all of those things came out. If we did not do this, this would have been us having to set aside time to study it when we had time versus
right.
the
It would have taken like
momentum of
months, a
exactly.
year. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. More speaking opportunities came out of it, being on podcasts like yourself
Hey.
came exactly, came out of it, so it and just life happened afterwards, so making the decision to buckle down and say, "I am going to really sink my teeth in this and to create the systems," has been amazing, and I wouldn't trade it in for the world because it has really accelerated how we are doing business.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fantastic. I know. Okay, so we've talked about Chat GPT and
Mhm.
how this experiment that you tried out, but I've also seen some of your videos and how you talk about other tools, AI tools that you use
Yeah.
to help you with the videos that you create. Can you talk a bit about those?
Yeah, sure. So the backbone of the content that we created, I'm trying to remember when we did our first video, it was just I think we were trying to use CapCut to do the videos. Mr. Grateful, he used CapCut. Oh, okay, so let's try CapCut. However, it just for what we were doing, the speed that in which we were putting content out, we actually decided to go with Descript. And Descript is an AI enabled SaaS product where you're able to not only you can record on not just pulling your video into it, but you can actually record. So there are a couple of videos where you'll see I'm kind of looking off screen, and it's because I'm looking at my screen while it's recording and navigating my machine, much like a tutorial type or classroom setting. And it
Mhm.
has the ability to do the transcription at the same time. So what that
Oh,
means is
cool.
like I'm not just recording the video or uploading the video and then having to use a separate tool. So in the past, it would be, we still use it to a degree in other areas, but like an Otter AI where you get the audio, then you get the transcription, and then, or some other hacks that people use is take their audio, like Google, hear it and transcription. No, this is
Oh, wow.
all in one place.
Hmm.
And so that just helped. And then the script also has a repository of video and content. So we had a lot of great video B-roll, the TikTok videos, that style of just keeping the pace with it. So the script was a huge one for us to
Okay.
use. And for those who, which may be helpful for your audience as well, those interested in content or podcasting is Adobe Podcast. So
Hmm.
typically as a producer or as an editor, you get the footage, you get the audio, and you put them together, and or you're editing it and something might not sound right, like somebody said something or there was too much background noise. Well, if you
Hmm.
just export the audio with Adobe Podcast, all you got to do is upload it. It cleans it up. Like, so all this, like
Wow.
all that noise,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
boom. Yeah, in a matter of moments. So using, tools like that, Crisp is similar with the audio aspect of things. And again, going back to just at that time, some of the plugins that came around with ChatGPT were really helpful. While yes, the foundation is ChatGPT, but like perfect prompts. So that helps with prompting and making sure that okay, I might say summarize da 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 da, but I tell perfect prompt what I want to do, and it creates an even better prompt that then I'm able to use. So there were just so many different, and we were also testing things out. Adobe has Adobe Firefly. Now, while you can't use that for commercial purposes just yet, you
Okay.
can test it out. Which what Adobe Firefly, and for those who may or may not know, the Adobe products are Photoshop,
Mhm.
Adobe Premiere. So, for example, with Photoshop, you can now do generative AI, which means if we took a snapshot of you and I right now, and we
Mhm.
told Photoshop, hey, now reimagine the background and stretch it out more, then the AI is taking
Oh
the
yeah,
information.
I've seen that. I've seen that.
Yes,
Like they changed the shape of a dog and added mountains in the background of a
right.
picture and yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, I wanted to jump in and explain a bit about what generative AI exactly means. So I went to ChatGPT and I asked it to explain it to me like I was a kid. And I also asked it to be a little less whimsical because it started talking about a magical drawing book. So I asked it to be less whimsical and I like this explanation. So think of generative AI like a computer program that's like a master copycat. It studies a lot of examples like pictures, music, or text and learns the patterns in them. Then it uses those patterns to create new stuff that's similar to what it learned. It's like if you practice drawing a lot of different things and then started drawing new things on your own using what you learned from your practice. The computer does something similar but with data and information. So then I asked it to tell me the difference between an LLM, a large language model, and generative AI because if you can remember from episode 2, I explained what an LLM is, and I wanted to know what exactly was the difference, although I had an inkling of what it was anyway. So LLM stands for Large Language Model, which is a type of generative AI. Generative AI is a broader category that includes various types of models designed to generate new content like images, music, or text. Large language models, like the one you're talking to right now, are a specific kind of generative AI that specialize in generating human like text based on the patterns they've learned from a lot of text data. So, in short, all large language models are generative AI, but not all generative AI models are large language models. I hope that helps.
So things like that, getting your hands on it right now and getting comfortable with it, because once that gets released, now that means, oh, wait, you have more tools in your wheelhouse for those who are on that more creative side, or even if you have a pitch deck and you now need to create something because you're trying to explain your concept to the investors or to whoever you're trying to share this idea with. Oh, wait,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to go and stress out on, I need to find this perfect image. You can create what you see in your mind. You can now put that
Yeah,
to visuals.
that's so cool. I'm
Yeah.
just like, I'm over here taking mental notes. Obviously, it's a recording, so I can go back and
Right.
actual take notes, but I am like, I want to learn all of this. And yeah, I actually found Descript and started using it. And I think a few days later, you posted a video about how you use Descript, and I was like, "Oh, okay." Because it's just there's so many tools, and I
Yeah.
and I get to the point where I'm like, I don't know what's good, and there's so many YouTube videos teaching this, and I'm particular about the voice of the person that's speaking on the YouTube side, and
Right.
I'm like, I don't know who to trust, and then at this point, I had been following you for a while, and so I was like, oh, okay, it's a good tool.
Yeah.
Liberty said it's a good tool, so I know it is now.
That's awesome. I
Uh,
appreciate that. And if
yeah.
if I can add what you just said there as well, And for me, why it was important to even do the experiment, why it's important for me to really get a handle and understanding where things are going with AI, because there are people who look like me who see all these voices. And because I mean, if you just go, not right now, you got to finish the podcast first, but you look on YouTube and you'll Google AI, there's a certain face, there's a certain look,
Mm-hmm.
there's a certain group
Mm-hmm.
of people who are giving the information. Nothing wrong with who that group of people, who they are, but there's a saying in marketing, you do business with who you know, like, and trust. So in order for
Yeah.
people who look like us, people of color, women, that was
Mm-hmm.
another data point that I found with regards to people who would show up when I would do AI workshops. It was like 90% men. And I was like, "Oh my
Mm.
goodness." One, thank you, you all. I'm a trusted voice, so
Yay! Thanks
yes,
for support.
yay.
Yeah.
However, ladies, Imma
Yeah, where
need
you
y'all to come
at?
along. I need you to not
Yeah.
fall behind, and just
Yes.
yeah.
That. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, no, yeah, just I need you to not fall behind, and then even we could talk about I feel like we could talk about this all day.
Oh, that's
And
fine.
from a business perspective, that
Yeah.
you because a lot of the people that I do follow, yeah, they actually, a lot of them are men, and they really are experimenting as well. They're experimenting and telling you what they did. So just the same way that I went to experiment, I now have educated information to share.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, just try it. Just try it with me,
Yeah.
because
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think there was a video where I had a blooper reel. So that, makes it more comfortable that, oh, okay,
Yeah.
Liberty did not do this in what? No, I did not.
No, there's a lot of editing, everyone. Yeah, and when you said that you don't want people to fall behind,
Right,
that's literally why I made this podcast and why I make it so the language so accessible, and I'm doing the asides and everything because I actually my last guest that I spoke to, we were talking. He's Filipino and Jewish, and I was talking to him. I was like, in the Latino community, which I'm a part of, if you talk to Latinx people, like your aunties or something, and you mention AI, they're gonna be like, "Oh, like no me hables de eso. Like, don't talk to me about that. That's scary. That's I don't know. You can't trust it." Da, da, da. And but then we end up falling behind because people are too afraid to just play with it. And
right,
so that's the whole reason I created this podcast is just to let's just, talk. Let's just be able to make a podcast that your auntie can listen to and isn't freaked out by this
right,
new technology. And so, yeah, exactly. Let's not fall behind. Uh, and if, yeah, even if you're not an auntie, but you're just a woman and you're like, oh, that's for men, whatever. Like, no, don't fall into that. Don't get left behind.
right.
So I'm so glad that I found you and that you're doing this work and that people are seeing your videos. And I hope more and more women come and women of color and start joining and learning and experimenting because of the work that you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, myself too. There was a guest that you had on as well, and they were more so on the workforce side of things. And that's one of the biggest fears that people have, do like working. I work with a lot of creatives as well, and the
Hmm.
idea that they're going to be replaced. And in
Yeah,
order to help squelch or squash some of those fears, there's a reality. There's always a shift when technology comes along, but that's why you need to try it out
exactly.
and figure out where you fit in and how your skill set, like I always say, the AI, the technology is there, but it still needs, like, your learned and lived experience is
Hmm.
what makes it be so amazing. Like,
Yes.
I am a Jamaican, Canadian, American, all of that contextualizes what I present. So, like, your lived experience is what really helps to bring the the culture, the texture to the
Hmm.
technology and how it works. So even while we were in the latter part of the experiment, we would go in and we would say, okay, we try to do an avatar. And while trying to create the faces and get the look, it was super dated photos or images of Black
Mhm.
women, and can we get some great looking pictures? Can we get pictures that don't
Yeah.
look like they're from the '60s? So the more
Yeah,
that our communities use it is the more not only data it's getting, but the feedback that it's getting. So that's, another layer to it, and why we need to not be sitting on the sidelines because we'll just
exactly.
continue to have the frustration of, "I don't see myself," because we need to see
Mhm.
you so
Right.
that the next generation can see themselves.
And I really hope, like another big hope I have for this podcast, it gets kind of inspire people to create their own thing. And that's why I love that you're an entrepreneur, and I want people to feel motivated to be like, oh my God, these tools make things go smoother and
Right.
faster, and you can learn so much in such little time. I hope that people are just like, this is the time. This is the moment that I'm going to become an entrepreneur, because this is it, y'all.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is the moment. This is the time. There's so many tools to just like I'm even just this podcast. I have a cheap mic, cheap camera, and I'm using these tools that are available, mostly free, some a little bit, but it's there and it's doable. This sort of a production company, as you know, back
Yeah.
in the day would have been
Yes.
like, I wouldn't have been able to do this. I would have needed a studio.
Right.
And so, yeah,
Yeah.
people, I
Making
really
it
hope
possible.
people, yeah, I really hope people feel like, get that push, that inspiration.
Yeah, and as you said, it's even as you're describing that of what you're able to do, being able to do a lot with a little, it makes me think of the, stories like David and Goliath,
Mhm.
and these the entrepreneurs who might not necessarily have the capital, the team
Exactly.
behind them that they can go up. A lot of these folks that are on TikTok are have the followers, have some of the business ideas, they're making money, but they're a team of 3 or 2 or a solo person, but they're able to compete with a larger organization who it takes
Mhm.
longer for them to move. So it's, yeah, you can do it. You can be that
You
person, but
can.
it will take elbow grease. So don't be afraid
Yes.
of the work. You have to do the work.
Exactly. Exactly. And also to get out of your heads too. People think, oh, the market's oversaturated. Yeah, but you are different and you're a different person and you bring a different perspective. And so you doing it is is different than someone else doing it or that other company doing it. Like, just try. Just give it a try. And if you try and then you fail and that fails, but it doesn't matter because you learned. For me, that's not failure, because in the end you're gonna learn something. Failure to me is doing nothing.
Yeah.
That's failing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll get off my soapbox, but I really
Oh,
hope that
that
this
was
inspires people.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm even though I'm a guest, I told you, I was, oh, you have great follow-up questions and how you've put it together. And I was like, I haven't really seen it like that. Oh my goodness. So I'm learning from you. There's this pure learning, that happens. And I'm not just that's just me. I'm always taking pieces and like, oh, I like that, and put it in my mind. And if I could go back to what you just shared of not being afraid and that the world needs your voice. It was
Hmm.
sometime earlier this year that a friend of mine he sent me DM'd me a video and he's like, "Yeah, I like that reel and are you going to do something like that?" And I'm like, "They've already done it. I don't need to do it." And he said something that changed me forever. And he said,
Mm.
"But I want to hear your points, how your
Mm.
perspective on this, how to do this tutorial." And that blew me away because it's like, oh wait, there really is something different or just what I'm going to bring to the table in sharing
Exactly.
this.
Exactly. Yeah. I love that. And thank you to him. And then thank you for you to share, to pass on the wisdom. And I feel like, so my next question, I feel like we've answered it because you've talked about your journey from your production company and how it started and where it is today and how AI has helped that. But Mike, I always ask this question: has AI made your life easier?
It definitely has made my life easier, and I'm speaking from the perspective of a founder. So not just the creative part of things, but because I'm very much the creative brain. Yes, there are people that do the execution, but as some people may have heard that the time savings that you get, for me sometimes I remember I was actually, oh, I think I was on a show and I was answering or whatever it was that I was doing. I had a brain fart and it was like, "Oh wait, we need to get this data and what does that mean?" And somebody wasn't able to get it at that right time. So I was like, "Wait, we just pull up ChatGPT," and I quickly put in
Yeah,
the numbers that we got back, and then boom, here I am on air being able to tell people information in real
that's
time.
amazing.
So I'm
Wow.
just like, ChatGPT for the win.
Yes, coming
There.
through.
Right. But it's things like that because 'cause I'm constantly switching gears. I'm switching gears from, "Okay, I'm delegating and I'm saying, this is what needs to happen, but wait, now I have to respond to this email communications, and I wanna make sure that I'm sharing whatever I'm communicating comes off well," and sometimes I might not just have it right there, so it's like, I will and this is a hack. So I'm a huge Siri fan. I am all, and I know that Android has something similar, but I will say whatever it is into Siri, and I'll be like, Siri, I've got this podcast at this time, but I've got to make a change, and I'll say that into it, and I'll voice note it and or into ChatGPT, and I'll voice it, and then let it. First of all, can you check for grammar, and then can you make it sound more professional, or can you make it sound, take some of the edge off. Wait, this is going to an
Mhm.
executive. So just that saving, because otherwise I probably would stew over it. I would overthink it. Did I really
Mm.
say? So all of that time is taking the pressure off of myself so I can really operate in my genius zone, which is making sure
Yeah.
everybody has what they need. That's my job, is to make sure
Yes.
everybody has what they need.
Yes. Yes. Oh, I love that. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that because I feel like I'm even still just scratching the surface. I'm definitely just scratching the surface. By no means have I experimented enough, but yeah, there are moments where I was just like I was really tired the other week and I had chicken or turkey fillets in the fridge and I was like I need to cook them, but I don't know what to make them with. And I just picked up my phone, very like, I'm tired. And I pulled up ChatGPT. I was like, how should I cook my turkey? And it just gave me a really quick, easy recipe. And I was like, okay. And it just motivated me to get up. I might have like exactly stewed over it. I might have
Right.
looked up a recipe online and they would have been 1,000 complicated ones.
Right.
And it just was like, here, do this. And it gave me the ingredients, the time, the heat, the everything. And I was like, oh, okay, thanks. And then I got up and I did it.
Exactly. And even you sharing that, because I can hear people saying, "Well, see, it's not." There's the concern that it's making us dumber or less intelligent,
Mm.
but we have calculators, right? Do calculators make
Yeah.
us less intelligent? No, it helps us hurry up and find out which product is better
Yeah.
between doing the math that I don't need to sit there and figure that out so that I can keep it moving. And that's the way I look at it, is
Exactly.
just the quality of life
Exactly.
that you're able to have. And there AI has issues, so I'm not gonna glaze over that. We kind of touched on the
Oh, for sure.
diversity thing, but right now we're
Yeah.
still so early. You said, even though you say you're scratching the surface, we're all scratching the surface right now, which is why I'm
It's
like,
true.
get in
It's true.
now, because everybody's trying to figure it out.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, actually, that's a perfect segue to my second to last question is what are your concerns about the future of AI?
Yes. So diversity would be, I would that is my number one concern for how it is, because if we understand that AI, or certain segments of AI, we're training it how to think, we're training it how to respond. And so if we don't have women using it, there's certain types of data and questions, and that it will only give these types of responses because data in is data out.
Mm,
If we don't have enough Hispanic people, Black people, Asian people, if we don't have enough people participating in this, that the output is going to be skewed, the information that we get back. Also going back to the idea of the visuals. And
Hmm.
so for people who, because I think about students a lot of the time, or people who may be novice to still learning critical thinking. How about that? Still learning critical thinking, that
Yeah.
they get this information back and they take it as factual, or
Mm.
it's the images that they see is, oh well, this might be how this culture or this person or this job, oh, this job is only for this kind of person because of just this discrimination that happens with AI. So that's my biggest concern, because as an agency, as a creator, that we're the ones who help put this information, put messaging out into the world. So if we don't even have the tools and the resources to put the right messages out in the world, like we won't be in a good place at all.
Right. Right. Yeah. All right. So then let's do the opposite question. What are your hopes for the future of AI?
So my hopes are really around the this might sound, hopefully this sounds okay, but my hopes are really around the monetization and how that can happen. We spoke a little bit about how using AI tools or resources, that you can do a lot with a little. Well, that also means communities or people that have been marginalized when it comes to funding.
Hmm.
Well, you're able to produce a whole podcast by yourself with little overhead. That means that your revenue should be higher. You'll have more
Yeah.
greater margins for that. I've spent a lot of time fundraising and trying to get funding for certain projects. Oh, wait, now I have these tools to help me to be able to get the idea or get the product to market faster. So for me, those are the things that we're looking into is, okay, how can we really understand how we can use these tools to create
Hmm.
and generate more revenue, because being that I've walked the path of all the no's, or sometimes getting something, but
Hmm.
it's not even enough for us to get the product to market, but it gives us another month of runway financially. Well, that means when I have these funds, that now one of my dreams and visions is to create a fund for women. So to be able to
Mm.
invest more, because I'm also a
Yeah.
mom. So my
Mm.
time is split between work and making sure that my daughter is being raised to be a productive part of
Hmm.
society. Well, my time is even more, I measure it differently. And so by being able to help other women, because when you have funds in the hands of women, it always stretch. We know how to
Yes.
stretch things. We know how to make it go
Hmm.
further faster. So that's what I'm excited about with AI, is really digging into the monetization, the business models, and how we can and use them, master them, and then teach people how to do that.
Yes. Oh, now I'm like, should we have you on for a part two to focus on business models and AI and how it can help?
Yes. The
Oh,
answer is yes, because we're working
I'm
on that
like,
right now. We're not publicly doing that part.
okay.
That's what we're doing internally, so that it's like, here's the case study, because it takes time when you are
Hmm.
putting it out there. People you got to answer comments. Yeah, no, no, no. We're just going to build in silence and then be able to show the data on the back end.
Oh, I'm excited. All right, keep me in the loop
I will.
and we'll have you on again.
Sounds awesome.
All right. Well, Liberty, can you tell everyone how they can reach out to you if they want to find you?
Yes. So you can find me on Instagram. That's Create with Liberty. And there are tutorials, and you can see even the past challenge. You can also find me for those who are more on the business side of things, or trying to figure out how AI can help in your professional development. You can find me Liberty White on LinkedIn. So those are the two
Okay.
best ways that you can find me.
Perfect. And I'll put those in the show notes for everyone.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on here, Liberty. It was so nice to meet you and talk with you. And this is such a great episode.
Thank you so much. It has been fantastic. And I'm looking forward to listening to more episodes, because what you're doing is fantastic and we need more of this.
Thank you. For those of you that are listening and not watching, I was like blushing earlier when Liberty was complimenting me and is now complimenting me again. So yeah, thank you so much. And I can't wait for part 2.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the IMAS podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Karina Perez. You can find me on LinkedIn under my name, my full name, and you will find me there. And you can connect with Liberty by finding her on LinkedIn as well. I will put her info in the show notes. As always, thank you everyone that's been supporting me. Really appreciate it. I love that you're here. I love that you're listening, and please keep sharing this. If you know anyone else that's using AI, whose story you would love to hear, just send them my way or tell me about them, and then I will try to get them on the show. Thank you again. Until next time, bye.